Hello, welcome to Journal Entries. Today we have Courtney on the show. Courtney is a decluttering coach, and she is passionate about bringing moms together through decluttering. Her goal is to create a safe space to help moms simplify their homes while affording meaningful relationships because life is better when lived together. As a busy mom who almost never has all of the rooms in her house clean and has a million things that I still need to declutter, we get into tips and even the emotional side of why stuff consumes us. I know that you are going to love this episode. So let's dig in, enjoy, and feel free to leave a rating or review if you love the guest episodes and the content that I share on this podcast. Most people don't know what's holding them back, but you do because you listen to me, Sam, your self-care guru and journal junkie. Welcome to Journal Entries, your safe place where you can tune in weekly to get tips, tricks, and journal prompts to uncover your feelings, gain clarity, and make your move. Welcome to the show, Courtney. How are you? Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm well.
I first of all want to thank you for chiming in. She is joining in from Hawaii. I think that's the coolest place any of my guests have been from. And you just moved there, right?
Yeah, about 2 months ago.
2 months ago. So you are just settling in, and are you even decluttered in your own home quite yet?
Yeah, we did quite a bit before the move. An overseas move was something we hadn't done before, so we really wanted to, minimize as much as we could. And then we actually went without those belongings for about 2 months as well. So we were living
Oh,
with
wow.
really nothing until we, had those things delivered. So, yeah, I'd say we live pretty comfortably right now.
Yeah, good, good, good. Well, before we get into the questions, I first just wanted to ask you what led you to become so passionate about helping women with decluttering their homes? And have you always been a very clean and tidy person?
Yes. So I have always been a pretty simple gal, as I like to say. I am pretty frugal, which also kind of helps me, I think, to be simple because I'm very intentional with how I spend my money and I won't just buy anything. And so I think that definitely helps. But I also really like a peaceful space. And I'm sure we can all, in some degree, relate to that uh, peaceful feeling that we feel internally when our external spaces feel peaceful. And I just notice when I feel like there's just a lot of things in a room or a space, I just find that I can't focus. Like my mind just it's just kind of hard for me to function sometimes. And so I just really like a simple space.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at my desk right now thinking I should clean this up. Like it would feel a lot better. And I have heard that too, of how, it feels so much more peaceful when we have clean spaces. And that can be one of the first things that someone should, well, quote unquote, should do or can do when you're feeling like overwhelmed and stressed. But I also feel like it's like the last thing on some of people's lists, especially moms when we're so busy. And it's one of those things where we all want to, and we almost put it on a pedestal. So, one of my first questions for you is, what do you think some of the reasons are that it does feel so hard to just do the thing, but then also to let things go? Because again, as I'm looking at my desk, I'm also looking at this like deck of affirmation cards that I have not opened in like months. I'm like, that's something that I could probably donate. So like, what is it that like keeps us from doing this and it feels like such a big task?
Yeah, so I think it's really easy to romanticize the idea of decluttering because it's something that we all want. We all want this peaceful home. We love the simplicity. We love watching other people declutter on Instagram, right? That's the fun part. But then actually doing it ourselves is hard because we have to make the time. And as busy moms, we know time is of the essence. And that, you know, any second of alone time or downtime that we get is precious. And so a lot of the time, we're not like, let me go declutter. Let's read a book. Let's sit on the couch. Let's take a minute, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes it can feel hard just to prioritize the time to actually do it. It can also be hard because we can sometimes make up these stories in our heads about, and I'm sure you could speak into this, about the things in our home. And, sometimes we can justify keeping things because it feels, I like to say the idea of having it makes us feel comfortable because
Hmm.
um, you know, we know, or we know in our heads, like, I have that item if I need it one day. I challenge people to ask themselves when they last used the item, and if it's just something that they like the idea of, or if it's something that they're actually practically using on a daily basis. Because I think it feels good to know like we have enough. But something I've been learning recently, even in my own life, is defining what enough is for me, which has
Mm.
been so interesting because, and I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah. As you are saying all of these examples in my head, I went to my closet and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so many clothes that I haven't worn in so long. And I think some of them I have attachments to, kind of like you were saying. But the other part is like, I feel like someday I'll need it. But when that day comes and I need that little black dress, I usually don't even opt to wear the one that I'm wearing. I opt to like go get a new one. And that
Yeah.
almost comes down to like the enoughness. Like I have one. So is that not enough? Or do I feel
Yeah.
like I need this new one, right? And that's fulfilling a different need. I'm curious just because I love digging into this stuff, like the emotional side of things. What did you like come up with? Did you have any aha moments or revelations when you tapped into the enoughness on your end with the decluttering?
Yeah. So when I am talking about me, finding enough in my life, I'm actually not talking about things because, like I
Hmm.
mentioned, I'm pretty simple. And so I feel like, and maybe clothes, actually, now that you were talking about your closet, I could definitely, uh, I think who doesn't love shopping? Who doesn't love new clothes, right? And so I think, yeah, just finding what that looks like for me. Trends are always changing, influencers are always posting the latest things, and it can feel really easy to feel behind or to feel like, oh, well, let me go follow that newest trend. Otherwise, I don't feel like enough, or I don't feel accepted if I'm not wearing XYZ. And so I've definitely noticed that. And just had to remind myself, like, it really doesn't matter. I mean, yes, enjoy your clothes. You can enjoy things, but at the end of the day, your clothes don't define you. They don't make you who you are, right? They absolutely can accentuate you. They make you feel good. That's all important. But having, not being able to keep up with the trendiest styles doesn't make me who I am. And it definitely gives me some peace. And I think it just reminds me of what is most important to me, and kind of helps me to refocus on the priorities in my life.
I love that. I also love what you said about romanticizing decluttering because you're right. Those videos of other people decluttering make it look so like sexy almost of like, oh my God, like you want to do that and like you're
Yeah.
inspired to, but then it's like that almost makes it seem unattainable because then you have to go to Amazon and buy the clear bins and you have to buy the label maker, right? And you have to buy, it's almost like the opposite of decluttering. And it just looks so picture perfect that it's like my house could never, I need to go buy a new home or paint my kitchen white, right? So it almost feels like it's such a big project. So what would you recommend for the overwhelmed mom who wants to like get started, but also feels like she's just drowning because she's behind in that laundry? You had that one reel that I complimented you on privately, but everyone can go follow Courtney. She had this reel that was just like you're not overwhelmed because you're short on love for your kids. You're overwhelmed because basically you have too much stuff. You've got too much stuff going on. You have too much stuff in your house. So, what would you suggest for that mom?
So I would recommend that you start in a place where decision making feels easy and you don't feel as overwhelmed. So the garage, probably not the first place to start. Your box of sentimental items, probably not the best place, but something as easy as your fridge or one junk drawer in your kitchen or maybe it's like a small, hallway closet. Something that feels doable, something you could probably do in maybe 15 minutes or so, and something that's going to give you that quick win. That is huge and decluttering is awesome because you can see the tangible progress. You can go declutter your fridge and, take a before and after, or just look at it, before and after, and see the progress you made. And that is what's going to help you to build momentum to keep going, to work up towards the bigger spaces and the rooms that may feel a little bit more overwhelming. So go into it with the mindset that it's a process like anything else. It's going to take time, and give yourself the permission to start small and to not do it perfectly, because there really isn't a perfect way. I mean, if maybe you follow some professional organizers, which is different than the work that I do, because a lot of the time there is more of a focus on making things look pretty, which there could be a time and place for that, but I'm really focused on helping you get rid of the extra stuff so you don't have to deal with it. Because we've all probably been there, especially if you have kids, you're cooking and you have these really beautifully organized bins. And what do you know? Your toddler walks over and dumps all of those bins out on the floor. And then you're having to go either clean them up or reorganize them. And we all know how often toddlers are dumping things out. It's constant. And so I just want to encourage you, don't focus so much on organizing in the beginning. If that's something you want to do later, by all means do it. But first step, get rid of that extra stuff so you don't have to deal with it repeatedly. And then from there, you can organize if you want to.
So good. We all love a progress photo too, like a before and after. I would probably do it just for that, like seeing that fridge before and then like a sparkly clean one, or at least just a whiter one afterwards.
Yes. Yes.
For sure. Something came up for me. I know that you coach women, maybe privately and also in a group setting. Do you coach them through the emotional attachment? Because when you were saying, like, I just want to help you get rid of the stuff, I feel like that might be a big barrier. Do you see that come up with a lot of women, the attachment of like, oh, but that was my son's first toy, right? Or that was the dress I wore when I did XYZ.
Yes, I do see that come up a lot. And I think that is probably one of the biggest barriers. It is the emotional piece. And I think that's what makes decluttering feel so challenging at times, because we know it's not just the simple decision of, do you want to keep this? Yes or no. Do you want to donate it? Yes or no. It's more than just yes or no. There's all of those emotions you have to untangle. There's the memories. There's just so much underneath the surface that you have to think about and then answer in order to make that decision. And so, yeah, I do see that come up a lot. And I think ultimately, it's hard because it's not a black or white answer. And sometimes people want that. They want, just tell me, like, do I keep it or not? I just want to know, like, what do I do? But it really is, because it's going to be different for everybody, and everybody has different things that they value. And so you individually have to ask yourself, what is important to me? What do I value in life? And what do I want for my home? Do I want a peaceful, simple home that feels comfortable, that has the things that I need, but doesn't feel overly crowded or suffocating? Yes. Okay. So, well, how much can you then keep inside of your home before you've hit that limit where you're overwhelmed, you feel like it's costing you time because you're always cleaning up, or you're always just looking around. Maybe you work from home and you constantly feel distracted because you can just see all of the things around you that you need to do, the laundry, the dishes in the sink, the piles of paper that you've meant to organize but you haven't, right? It can cost you. And so I always encourage people to ask themselves, what do you want for your life? What do you want for your home? And how can you get there by getting rid of some of those things to open up the space for what you really want in your life?
Mm-hmm. Those are good questions. And what you said too, of like at some point it starts to cost you. So no matter what that emotional attachment is it worth the anxiety that you feel when you look at that pile every single day, or like the month that you've been reminding yourself to try and pick up those papers? So I love that.
Yeah.
Something that you talk a lot about lately is contentment. So I wanted to ask you, how is living simply, how has that helped you find more contentment in your life?
So, similarly to what we talked about earlier with our closets and being on Instagram and seeing what everybody else has, it can be really challenging and it can be so easy to start comparing, whether consciously or subconsciously. I think a lot of the time it's subconsciously, like we're not aware of it, but we're scrolling online and, we're seeing other people simply taking videos in their house, but we can see inside of their house, right? And we're thinking, that's a really nice house, or that's a really clean house. Mine doesn't look like that. Or, oh my gosh, that's such a cute outfit. Here I am, like in my, 3-year-old shirt, and ratty shorts. It's like, oh, wow, I don't have a wardrobe like hers. Or, I mean, it could literally be anything. It's more than just stuff, it's life, right? All the things in life. And I've learned over the years through my own journey of living in a tiny house, living in an RV, living very, very simply. And let me just say, living in the RV was not the kind of glamorous, like RV living that we see on Instagram. I mean, it was literally an $800 RV that we bought on a whim, like right after we got married. We were like, my husband one night was like, what would you say if we like sold everything, bought an RV and lived in it? And I was like, sure. So it was just this spontaneous, like wild ride. But we learned a lot. And I think that's probably where I would say, my contentment journey started, living a kind of totally crazy, out there life in a very small space. Um, and just living in homes that, weren't the best, but it was fine. Like it was what we needed, and it was just the season we were in. But it was so easy to look at whatever everybody else had and compare. And I realized having that next thing, whether it was stuff or a nicer house or a nicer car, whatever it was, wasn't actually going to make me happier. Because then when I got the thing or made more money or had the outfit or whatever it was, like, yeah, maybe I was happy for a second and then it was gone, and then I was chasing the next thing. And so I realized that I had to find contentment in other things. I had to be content with what the Lord's given me in my life instead of looking, searching for other things that only temporarily satisfied me.
I feel like some people spend their whole lives like that, feeling so much desire for the next thing. And like you said, setting the goal and it feels like something healthy, like wanting more, but then you get there, you might feel good for a minute, and then like you always move that measure of success further out. And like you never feel
Yeah.
successful. And like you said, happiness, you never feel truly happy because then you want the next thing. So I love that you were able to identify that and even like find it within, because then you can truly be happy anywhere, right? Like you can create it from within. And so wherever you are, whoever you're with, like that's something that you own. It's not something that you can then go buy or find on Instagram.
Yeah, I love that you said that. It's totally something that you own because you're choosing it, right? It's a choice you make, which means, yeah, well, yeah, I guess I was going to say you're in control of it. You are, because you're choosing to be content instead of looking outwards for those things to bring you happiness because they can be fleeting. So I love how
Yeah.
you said that.
Yeah. Thank you. And Courtney, I love everything that you've said. This has been so eye-opening and inspiring. It's like I'm looking at my desk and I will clean up something. I will get rid of some things after this call. But for everybody else who is inspired after listening to this, where can they find you? And is there anything that you want to share with them that you have to offer them?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at Declutter and Dwell. I have lots of content there, as well as some different free resources that you can check out. And then I also run a membership community called the Simplicity Society, where we meet 3 times a month to declutter together. I find that it is so much more enjoyable, and it helps to keep people accountable to meet and just do it together because it's more fun when you get to do it with other people who are on that same journey with you.
I love that. I will share all of those links in my show notes for you guys to click on and go check out Courtney. Courtney, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. And again, I can't wait to actually put what you said into practice.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's journal entry. I love connecting with my listeners, so make sure you screenshot this episode and tag me on Instagram at samantha.s.says so I know you're listening. And don't forget to grab your free training and journal prompts at www.samanthapenkoff.com/podcast.